It's your girl, the Grownwomangamer, and today I'm coming at you with another fire commentary. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, comment whether you agree with me or not, and don't forget to share if you care. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of veteran leadership. So I've watched a lot of basketball, and what I notice is that having a strong veteran leader on your team can literally be more valuable to the team than athleticism, speed, your ability to jump high, dunk, shoot threes out the freaking gym. Having that guy that can gel the team, guide the team, inspire guys, give guys a new perspective, help everyone around them to truly understand the value of winning and what's at stake, it means everything. I'm going to give you 3 prime examples. Let's take the New Orleans Pelicans for the first example. So if you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, their roster right now is not the strongest roster that they've ever had. But even more than that, prior to this year and in the last several weeks or months of basketball, I don't think anyone really had any expectations of this team. And of course, the team has not been without controversy. We all can think back to the Anthony Davis situation when Anthony Davis was trying to get out of New Orleans in order to play with LeBron James and the Lakers. We can think back to Boogie Cousins, which is, to me, kind of a sad story. It's great to see that he's still in the mix, but Boogie Cousins was looking at a huge $200+ million contract. He had that injury, and I don't think his career has been the same since. And I'm not one to say that he hasn't been the same since, but obviously there were very high expectations for what Boogie Cousins was going to do in the NBA as a center and power forward. And because of injury, it's really derailed his career. And then we can think about we can go back to the Lakers and how the Lakers dumped all those young players, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram. And Brandon Ingram made it clear at the time that he wasn't very happy with how things evolved with the Lakers. He was kind of, I mean, I'm not going to put thoughts or words in the man's mouth, but at the end of the day, some people would, just observing everything, make the assessment that keeping Kuzma and letting Brandon Ingram go didn't really make sense. But whatever. The Lakers have done some other things that don't make as much sense. We will leave that for a completely different conversation. But at any rate, they had some players on the team that people cared about a little bit, particularly Lonzo Ball, whose dad hyped him up so much that everyone was kind of talking about him, but not so much because that's what he wanted, but because his dad was constantly making these really outrageous statements, which were amusing. I don't think most of us would take it seriously, but he did low-key put a target on his son's back, and I think that ended up hurting him, but that's a whole nother story. And then, of course, we cannot forget the saga around Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson came into the NBA with a lot of hype around him. He was the first pick in his draft class, immediate Jordan athlete, and hasn't really, I don't think, played more than 30 games in any season since he's been in the league. Has had various struggles with injuries around his knee and now his foot. And I'm not a fat shamer or anything like that, so I'm not judging him at all, but his weight has prevented him, I think, from achieving the level of consistency that you would want from a player, especially one as young as he is. And I'll be honest, when I look at him, I don't necessarily see a basketball player. I see more of a football player. But that doesn't mean that he won't come back and be better than any of us expected. He's very young, and just to keep it positive, I hope that he does achieve everything that he has his heart set on. But needless to say, his presence on this team has not really meant much in terms of helping them to become a good postseason contender, a good playoff contender, and he's been relatively irrelevant as it pertains to elevating this team. So now, if you watch in the last several games, the New Orleans Pelicans are winning in games where previously you probably wouldn't have expected them to, and they're doing it without Zion and without Brandon Ingram. what is the key difference? In my humble opinion, I think it is CJ McCollum. Ever since CJ McCollum has got on this team, you can see these guys playing with a different level of seriousness and ferocity. There's a different level of belief. And you can see something has clicked where this team realizes that they can beat teams that are quote unquote good teams, and that they can come out every night and give each team that they face a run for their money. Does this mean that they are a favorite to win in any of these games? No. But unlike previous seasons, even with the roster that they're playing, you have to at least take them seriously, and they're forcing you to take them seriously because of the level of play. And I think that when I watch them play, CJ McCollum is really facilitating a new style and a new, more engaged kind of basketball. Because when I used to watch them, what I saw, and no shade, I just saw Brandon Ingram going off. I saw people getting off on their in their individual. We had some really strong individual play, mainly from Brandon Ingram, and everybody else seemed like they were just along for the ride. Now I see a basketball team playing together as a basketball team, as a unit, and no matter who comes out on the floor, they're doing it. And I think that I think the most shocking thing that could happen is that this team won a championship or even made it out of the East. But I'm just making a case for the fact that this veteran player has been more valuable to them than all the youthful exuberance, the youthful athleticism of all the players that they've had previously on this roster, and even all the players that are still on this roster. Here's my second example, and I think this one illustrates it even more, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So even in the beginning of this season, I don't think anybody was checking for the Cleveland Cavaliers to be one of the 6 teams that was guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. I know I wasn't. Frankly, I didn't know much about anyone on this team, and I haven't paid attention to them since LeBron was on the team. I knew Kevin Love was there, but all I knew was Kevin Love was trying to get out of Cleveland. They had some other players that folks would mention here and there, but it didn't really even click. I'll be honest that these players were on the team, and I don't think anyone was really thinking about this team, like I said, as a team that would be in one of the 6 guaranteed spots to make it into the postseason. So what happened between last year, essentially the first half of this year, and now when they're a team to be reckoned with? Well, I personally believe, again, this is my humble opinion, that Rajon Rondo is the difference. If you've never done this before, go on YouTube and search for Rajon Rondo post-game interview. Rajon Rondo is arguably one of the smartest basketball players playing in the NBA currently. And I know when I say playing, we have to use that term loosely, because Rajon Rondo is in street clothes most of the time when you're watching these games. But I know that Rajon Rondo, on every single team that he's on, elevates the play of the team. Is he going to be the reason why they win? No, but he'll be the reason why they contend. Players really have a great deal of respect for him. You have to respect the basketball mind that he has. And I've seen a real difference in the quality of basketball that's coming out of Cleveland since he got on the team. And I strongly believe that he is the difference maker, and the veteran leadership that he's providing to these guys. Again, the focus, the level of seriousness, the elevation of the actual basketball that's coming out of the players, that confidence. You just see a team playing together in a system, hungry on defense, focused and strategic on offense, and it's just a different basketball team. Do I think this team is going to win a championship this year? No, but I do think that Rajon Rondo, even in his street clothes, and the influence that he has, is the difference between the team we see now that's guaranteed a spot and the team that was there who we weren't even considering would ever be in the position that they're in now. And then my third example is the most important one, the Phoenix Suns. So if you go back and look at the Phoenix Suns before Chris Paul got there, the roster has changed, but it's not that different when you're talking about the core guys or the core guy, Devin Booker, that was there before Chris Paul got there. But before Chris Paul got there, this particular team could barely get into the playoffs. If they did, no one had any expectations of this team, although everyone would agree that Devin Booker was a special talent, and watching him play some nights was amazing. People try to compare him to Kobe Bryant, which I definitely won't do, and he even says, don't compare me to Kobe Bryant. But watching him play and the fluidity with which he scores, and he's kind of has that pretty basketball player thing going, where watching him play is like watching ballet or dance. He's very graceful, and he's excellent. But the truth is that what elevated this team, and even Devin Booker would acknowledge this, so this is not a slight on him or his ability or anything, is Chris Paul coming onto this team. Devin Booker did an interview shortly after Chris Paul came and said he was so happy when they drafted Chris Paul. And when they got Chris Paul, or not drafted him, I'm sorry, when they brought him onto that roster. And so what I think Chris Paul does for this team is so many different things. But he is, again, one of the smartest basketball players in the NBA. He is a guy who understands so much about basketball in terms of a team playing together, maximizing the abilities of the guys around him, making everyone around him better, working with coaches to develop winning strategies. And he is a very serious guy who has kept his hunger for competition high for well over 15 years in the NBA. And even when he's not playing, you can see that there is a carryover in terms of the influence that he has on everyone on that team. Chris Paul can get on a team and make players who would typically be subbing in double-digit scores on any given night. He's also great offensively. I think he does, in some cases, become a defensive liability, but that's okay because they have enough help with players like Crowder and Johnson and Bridges and Ayton and McGee. They have such a strong kind of balanced roster. But the real difference between the team that we're watching now and the team that we were watching before, again, is veteran leadership. So in summary, what I would say is that when putting together these rosters, yes, having youthful legs is important. Having players that can score is very important. But it's more important, or at least equally as important, to have a guy on the team who will lead and who the other players happily respect and who can help bring everyone together. And more often than not, that's not a player that is brand new to the NBA, that's a rookie or a sophomore, even maybe in his third or fourth year. And so this is the reason why sometimes it's challenging for me when I see teams like Boston and Memphis to believe that they can win a championship, because I haven't seen a player since Magic come in as a young player, rookie player, sophomore player, and lead a team to a championship. It can happen. Anything can happen in basketball. Injuries happen. Players have epiphanies in the postseason, and you can see it happen where they transform and they understand what's necessary and they just elevate and they end up winning. So I'm not counting anybody out, but I am saying that the team that I would put my vote behind to win is a team like Phoenix that is led by a guy that's smart and can galvanize the other players around to work towards a common goal and stay focused on that without breakdown, rather than a guy who can score 50 points and it's fun to watch him. But that's what I have to say. Those are my thoughts. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to the channel. Like this video, comment, tell me whether you agree with me or not. Don't forget to share if you care, and please stay safe and stay blessed. I'm out.